Hello, hello all, and welcome to the League Challenge here at St. Peter's, Missouri at the Collector Store. My name is Leonard and I'm joined today by none other than Jared Carpenter. I'm not going to be solo this time. I'm excited to have Jared with me today on commentary.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me, Leonard. And let me tell you, we have a treat starting us off today. It's a match between Ben and Will, Kyogre versus Calyrex-Shadow Rider, and I'm super excited because Kyogre's not the only big fish today. Will is an aficionado of Dondozo, so it's Calyrex paired with Dondozo and Tatsugiri with Weezing-Galar backing them up.
This is a really tricky one. The Ludicolo here, I think, is one of the most interesting points that we see from Ben. Not only does the Ludicolo outspeed all of, well, maybe all of Will's team. I assume the Ludicolo is faster than the Roaring Moon even after it consumes its booster energy. But the Ludicolo also knows the move Encore and has Grass Knot, and that's really, really good into Dondozo. Now, Dondozo can go for that Terra Grass to get around the damage, but the Encore could potentially be really devastating for Will. But then you have also the dynamic of Will's Weezing. With Weezing on Will's team, you can shut off all of those abilities. Not only the Ludicolo Swift Swim if rain gets up, but you could just prevent rain from going off in the first place. So it's a real interesting matchup. I'm not really sure who's favored. There is an Amoonguss on Ben's side, but the Amoonguss does not have the Clear Smog move. Instead, it just has Pollen Puff as its only attacking move, so won't do much against Dondozo that way. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you think about this one, Jared?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. Again, we're spending so much time focusing on Dondozo and Tatsugiri. I want to point out the interesting moveset Dondozo has. Paired with Droopy Tatsugiri, Order Up will be boosting its defense, and Dondozo's packing the Body Press as well. But here we go into team selection. We have fairly standard, as you said, Kyogre, with the interesting Ludicolo along with it. So it's looking like we're going to be seeing some Kyogre Tornadus action in the start, along with that Ludicolo coming.
Yeah, I think if you're Will, one of the things that you want to keep in mind is like how well the Weezing does. Like, Weezing turns off, I think, every ability on Ben's team is useful here, except for the Iron Hands' Quirk Drive. Like, you really want to turn off both Prankster on Tornadus and the Drizzle on the Kyogre. Preventing both of those Pokemon from using their abilities is just going to be crucial. You can get a huge Astral Barrage off before the Kyogre can respond with a Water Spout. So to get around that, you could go for a Protect with your Kyogre and set up Tailwind, but that might be a lot of really bad damage that you don't want to take. The Tornadus is Terra Dark, so potentially you could use that as a way to leverage getting it up safely, but we'll just have to see. Round one of our challenge here, Ben versus Will. Who will be taking it?
Yeah, absolutely. And so we see Will here, he's shooting out his Weezing and Calyrex, just like you were saying, into Kyogre and Tornadus. So we've got restrictions on the field with support Pokemon each.
Yeah, the Weezing here very usefully shutting down the abilities of both the Tornadus and the Kyogre. Of course, Calyrex, with its As-One ability, isn't suppressed because, I don't know, I guess, you know, when you're riding a horse, you can't have your ability suppressed like that. That's not how it works. But the Calyrex here can definitely go for a big hit with Astral Barrage. Probably doesn't really want to do anything else. Maybe if you commit to predicting a Terrestrialization from Tornadus, you could go for a Pollen Puff into that slot, but I don't think that's very likely. The Weezing here could Terrestrialize itself to Terra Water. That would allow it to resist the Water-type attacks from Kyogre. Could set up a round of Toxic Spikes as well, but looks like we're starting off just with a big Astral Barrage.
Yeah, just like you mentioned, it's going to do big damage, doing over half to both Pokemon. And we'll see what the Weezing locked into if it tries to go for a knockout. Ooh, Weezing almost gets taken out there itself. Big damage in return from the Kyogre without rain. And like you said, the Tailwind coming in, and the Strange Steam is going to finish off the Tornadus. So high power offense flying here on the first turn.
Yeah, I think that's a decent trade if you're Ben. The Kyogre took a lot of damage for that, but it did a lot of damage in return. The Weezing didn't Terrestrialize, so you can see with that critical hit, it ended up at very low HP. Even without a critical hit, definitely would have done at least 50%. So now the Kyogre is threatening a knockout on both Pokemon with an Origin Pulse. Will can react to that and potentially switch into Dondozo, but it might not want to take a Grass Knot on the way in. So kind of tricky. The Tailwind you had to take a lot of damage to get it, but you did get it, and I think that's going to put Ben in the driver's seat for this turn.
Yeah, so looking at the Ludicolo, you know, your gut instinct is always looking at clicking Protect into Fake Out, but Calyrex was immune, but decides to go for Protect anyway, stall out some of the Tailwind. But Weezing does not go for Protect, whether that's intentional or not, trying to get a free switch in on the next turn, we'll see. But I think that might have been pretty smart for both trainers, honestly, because that allows the Drizzle to come back out, making Ludicolo by far the fastest thing on the field with Tailwind and Swift Swim, and putting it in prime Encore position.
Yeah, I'd say if you're Will there, Weezing realistically isn't going to get anything else off in that exchange. We actually see the Roaring Moon in the back coming in. That's really important to see. That almost certainly confirms there's no Dondozo. You wouldn't see Dondozo without its partner Tatsugiri, very likely in this board, but as a result, it means that the Roaring Moon is heavily threatened. It is terrifying, so it can't terrestrialize out of this Ice Beam weakness. Roaring Moon probably can get up a Tailwind, unless there's a double target of maybe Grass Knot and Ice Beam gets it. I wouldn't expect it would, though. So we do just see Will retreat that Calyrex-Shadow, trying to set up Tailwind for it later.
Yeah, and here comes the Iron Hands, and notably this Iron Hand has an Assault Vest. Going for the Protect is the Roaring Moon, so it'll definitely survive at least one more turn. Here comes a Muddy Water into the Protect. Roaring Moon takes no damage, and we'll see it hit this Iron Hands. Will it get the drop of accuracy? It does not look like it, and Ice Beam also into the Protect.
The Iron Hands here is now poised to set up a pretty basic Fake Out Tailwind play. The Ludicolo would love to use Encore here, but probably not going to get the chance to do so. Ludicolo is holding that Life Orb item, so it will be flinched by Fake Out. Has no terrestrialization to get around that Fake Out either, so I would be very shocked if Roaring Moon went down to a single Ice Beam. Roaring Moon does have quite a bit of special defense on it. Just naturally, I'd be shocked if it fainted in one blow. And that would be pretty important. Tailwind is good here. You could also just take the KO on Ludicolo. I imagine a knockoff would probably do enough. And then you will still have the speed advantage anyway, even without the Tailwind. But deciding, no, I'm going to get that Tailwind for later. Tailwind may put the Iron Hands faster than the Kyogre as well. We see the Ice Beam land into the Roaring Moon, and that does deal quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, so as you said, Ben's Tailwind has faded, but even so, Ludicolo still has doubled speed from the rain. So it really comes down to how some of these speed tiers play out. I suspect that Ludicolo won't be outspeeding the... and speaking of outspeeding, here comes the Terra Flying on the Roaring Moon. Probably looking to get some acrobatics, stab acrobatics off this turn, as we see the Kyogre just clicking the Protect, wanting to stay alive for one more turn, and we will see the speed tiers. Here comes the acrobatics, does not get baited by the Protect, and that Ludicolo is going down.
Yeah, the acrobatics there, wisely targeted into the Ludicolo. If the Iron Hands has any amount of speed investment at all, it is likely faster than its Kyogre. We did see an interesting interaction on turn 1 where the Kyogre was faster than a Tornadus. Potentially could indicate that the Kyogre is faster and the Tornadus is slower, but expecting the Iron Hands to be faster than the Kyogre there, not too surprising. It means that the Chien-Pao does get to come in though, and that will threaten some damage. A Sucker Punch should pick up the KO onto the Roaring Moon. However, if the Iron Hands is faster than that Kyogre, then Kyogre's only option to get around that would be that Terra Grass, which could be punished in return by... Well, actually, Drain Punch might not... well, with the Sword of Ruin, I think it'd do enough. So Drain Punch might cover it either way, but even if Iron Hands gets that completely wrong and Drain Punches into the Chien-Pao, for example, it doesn't hit the Kyogre at all, I think you're still pretty happy if you're Will. I think damage here with Iron Hands is pretty good damage no matter how you slice it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just clicking, I think you're right, and just clicking a fighting type move with damage from the Astral Barrage earlier in the game on this Kyogre, I would be very surprised if Iron Hands wouldn't be able to finish it off with Drain Punch, like you said. But here comes the Sucker Punch into the Roaring Moon, taking it out. And we will see the speed tier interaction between the Iron Hands and the Kyogre here in just one moment. And so, oh, there's a Drain Punch, and instead of going for the Kyogre, choosing to break the Focus Sash on Chien-Pao. So Iron Hands does outspeed the Kyogre here, but gets some health back. But we have a single target Origin Pulse in the rain on this Iron Hands, but with the Assault Vest and the Drain Punch healing, it survives that handily. Yeah,
the tricky thing now, if you're Will, is the Shadow Rider has low HP, and it would faint to Sucker Punch even if it was, like... Actually, yeah, there already has been Terrestrialization on Will's side, so yeah, there's no way to get around this Sucker Punch. The Sucker Punch is fairly straightforward into the Chien-Pao, however, looks like you're just going to see it protect from the Shadow Rider, not wanting to get hit by that attack.
Yeah, and from what we saw selected earlier, it protects all the way around the field, except for the Iron Hands, who, with the Assault Vest, can't use a move like Protect. So now we get to play Protect Chicken. Everyone's clicked it once. You can click it again and maybe dodge a Sucker Punch, but Tailwind has faded, so Iron Hands is going to be the slowest thing on the field once again.
Yeah, this is a tricky. This is real tricky. If the Calyrex just goes for Astral Barrage, it would get 2 KOs. That's the easy level 1 play. Sucker Punch and the Shadow Rider would pick up a knockout in exchange, and then Origin Pulse might get the Iron Hands, but even if it doesn't, I don't know if Iron Hands would recover enough with Drain Punch. Definitely not if it hits into the Chien-Pao. Maybe if it hits into the Kyogre and there's an Origin Pulse miss, we'd see this, but just a failure of a double Protect on Calyrex-Shadow. But there wasn't even a Sucker Punch!
Not falling for the bait. But Iron Hands holds on, so does this Origin Pulse hit both opponents? Oh, but Iron Hands dodges the attack!
Ooh, okay.
So let's see what the Iron Hands went for. Did it go for a move into... Oh, he went for the Chien-Pao. I don't think that's going to be enough healing. Literally 1 HP to survive anything from the Kyogre on the next turn.
Yeah, the Kyogre here should just have an easy Ice Beam to clean this up. I bet Water Spout would even do it. So as long as you don't use Origin Pulse, you'll be just fine. And yeah, we see here Ben contemplating which move to use, but Iron Hands probably does not have more than, probably has less than 10 HP total on that side, and will certainly be felled by a Water Spout.
Yeah, absolutely. Even with the Water Spout power weakened, no rain, Kyogre not being at full HP, he does manage to get it in the end. Great move by Ben there on that second to last turn, anticipating a double Protect to try to stymie a Sucker Punch, and just going for a double up into the Iron Hands.
Yeah, that was definitely a hard call out of that Shadow Rider's attack that turn. If Shadow Rider just goes for Astral Barrage, we saw the damage from turn 1 of the battle that it would have knocked out both Pokemon. So making a really good call there. If the double Protect had landed and Drain Punch had hit into the Chien-Pao and there was a Sucker Punch, then all of those things combined would have won Will the game, but doesn't get the double Protect, and Ben just calling it out as well, to saying, yeah, that's your most likely option. I'm just going to attack what's in front of me. I'm not worried about your Astral Barrage.
Yeah, but still, absolutely phenomenal game, right down to the wire, and I'm really excited to see what adjustments come, if any, here in this game, too.
Yeah, so Will got a pretty good first turn, I'd say, with the Astral Barrage damage, but the damage trade in return wasn't super great, and there's no way that you can get Roaring Moon, I think, on the field super safely while the opponent has Tailwind. But you can't lead with Roaring Moon either. Like, if you lead with Roaring Moon in Shadow Rider, then Tornadus has access to Tailwind straight away, and then you can just go for Tailwind Water Spout. That would require you to protect the Roaring Moon and go for... protect the Shadow Rider and go for Tailwind with your Roaring Moon. And then next turn, you'd have an offensive combination attack of, like, knock off Astral Barrage, but it's not easy. Will there took a lot of damage early, but I think took too much damage back, and I think some of those turns with Iron Hands and Tailwind could have potentially gone better Will's way. I think there was an opportunity to Drain Punch that Kyogre there in the end game, and then Iron Hands likely 1v1s the Chien-Pao, since Chien-Pao only has single target attack. So we'll have to see how both players decide to adjust. Ben up 1 game here in this first round of competition against Will.
Yeah, absolutely, and we already saw some adjustments in the Pokemon selected by Ben. He did not bring his Tornadus this time, but we'll see what Will adjusted with, and instead choosing to bring the same 2 Pokemon as his lead options, while Ben brings Ludicolo dancing out next to his Kyogre.
Yeah, Ludicolo would be dancing in the rain a little bit better if there actually was rain, but of course Weezing suppressing that ability. Still, Ludicolo is not in an awful spot. You could just go for Muddy Water Origin Pulse. That probably would get the knockout, I imagine. Again, it's a matter of damage trades. Like, are you okay with that sort of damage trade happening? The Calyrex really can't do a whole lot if it decides Protect, though. Like, Protect plus Strange Steam is just going to do such low damage. Even if you Terra Water your Weezing to take less damage from the incoming water attacks, the Weezing's response is very small. But if Weezing leaves the field to try to reposition to something else, then that'll give Ludicolo that doubled speed, and then Encore will be pressuring the Calyrex the next turn. So Weezing just deciding to go for Protect, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Wanting to keep the rain off the field for as long as possible. And so we see this, big damage. Kyogre almost going down to that critical hit, but hanging on. Here comes an Origin Pulse. Weezing staying safe with that Protect. But we'll see how Kyogre handles it. And, a critical hit in return. Just one hit KOs it.
Yeah, that's a really big KO. The Muddy Water follow-up may have done the job. With that Life Orb on the Ludicolo may have been enough, but you would have, I guess, dealt a little bit more damage to the Ludicolo with its Life Orb recoil. Still, it's not the end of the world. The advantage of last game, I guess, is that now you can go into, if you do have that Roaring Moon, you can go into it and launch a knockoff or an acrobatics into either of these Pokemon, and that will pick up a KO. And now Weezing can probably set up Toxic Spikes, which are good into, well, I guess not everything in the back, but it wouldn't be very good into the Amoonguss. Actually, we just see the Iron Hands come in, so that's gonna really screams, I want to use Fake Out this turn.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see. No Protect on the Ludicolo slot, but Kyogre does lock in that Protect, so we'll see what's coming this way. You know that Will really wants to get rid of this Kyogre before it can take out the Weezing, and preventing rain from coming up entirely. But we do see the Ludicolo switch out. What is it coming out into? It switches into the Amoonguss, anticipating a Fake Out or a Fighting type attack. And Will is Terrastalizing.
That's interesting. Probably the Weezing, if I had to guess. Yeah, wanting to Terrastalize to Water type to take less damage from those attacks. The Weezing and Iron Hands probably did have 2 KOs there. I would imagine Strange Steam and Drain Punch would do enough to pick up 2 KOs, but unlikely to get a KO here on Amoonguss. It would be pretty, well, I guess you could Heavy Send the Ludicolo, but yeah, not very likely. We do just see the Kyogre protecting itself from that attack, and Strange Steam into the Amoonguss dealing a little bit of damage.
Yeah, just a little bit of chip there. Does not get the confusion, unfortunately, for Will. And suddenly, there's not a lot of spread move options on Will's side of the field anymore. Allowing a Rage Powder to just redirect everything into this Amoonguss, leaving the low HP Kyogre free to fire off another Origin Pulse.
Yeah, if your Kyogre's, as long as it has 1 HP, that's 1 HP too many for Will. You really don't want to take these repeated Origin Pulses because although the Weezing can go for a Taunt to prevent the Amoonguss from going for Rage Powder on subsequent turns, it's still going to be a big chunk of damage in the meantime. The Iron Hands and Weezing are not going to like taking this, so we do see that Rage Powder come out.
Yes, we definitely do, and Kyogre gets the Origin Pulse, hits both opponents. With the Assault Vest and the Water Terrastalization, it does take that okay, and like you said, that Taunt's coming out, really neutering everything Amoonguss can do.
Yeah,
and there's the Heavy Slam. Gets it down to about half, but that Rocky Helmet chip is not making Iron Hands happy.
Yeah, the Kyogre getting a critical hit onto the Iron Hands, pretty crucial there as well. It may be in range of another Origin Pulse, maybe not, hard to say. But yeah, it looks like Will not wanting to mess around with that, deciding to retreat the Iron Hands for that Roaring Moon. The Roaring Moon will not have its booster energy activated, notably, since the Weezing is suppressing the Photosynthesis ability. Also being suppressed is the Amoonguss's Regenerator ability, so it will not have additional HP when it comes back in later in this game. So Ludicolo does come back in and is threatening active Fake Out.
Yeah, certainly threatening that Fake Out, and without the Amoonguss around to redirect, this next turn is going to be very interesting because Kyogre's already used Protect. There's no redirection for it, but Ludicolo does have Fake Out and can stop one of Will's Pokemon from attacking. So we'll have to see what Ben wants to do here.
Yeah, this is... I think it's definitely better for Will than it was on previous turns. At least the Roaring Moon is outspeeding both Pokemon, and it can pick up a knockout with knockoff onto either. You really don't want to take a Fake Out and a Ice Beam. Like your Roaring Moon's HP matters so much here. But you also don't really want to get this turn wrong and miss out on damage that you otherwise should be having. So, yeah, we'll have to see. The Chien-Pao does come in, and it is just to protect from the Roaring Moon.
Yeah, the Roaring Moon goes for Protect. Like you said, not wanting to risk that Ice Beam. Ludicolo does Fake It Out, so that leaves this Weezing free to play. So what is it going to go for? Goes for a Strange Steam into the Chien-Pao, getting it down, not quite to Sash, but really close. Once again, missing out on the confusion. But suddenly, this game got a lot more interesting.
Yeah,
Every one of Ben's Pokemon is on pretty low HP.
Yeah, the Roaring Moon should be able to pick up KOs left and right with Acrobatics. And you could also switch out the Weezing in order to turn on your Booster Energy. That would give you the speed boost and allow you to outspeed the Roaring Moon, and I think you have to do that as well. Like, you cannot just let your Roaring Moon go down to an Ice Spinner for free. That does mean that it will open up abilities on Ben's side to be active again later on in the game. However, no abilities are super important right now. The Sword of Ruin only going to be really impactful if the Chien-Pao gets a hit off. So if you're intending to do that, then that would work. But oh no switch! That's going to be a 1-KO!
No switch! Oh, I think he tried to mind game it a little bit. But yeah, it just goes down immediately. Grass Knot into the Terra Water Weezing. It does hold on, but this is a rough spot for Will. It does go for Strange Steam into the Ludicolo, taking that out, but that just frees up Kyogre or Amoonguss to come back in. It's 3v1.
Yeah, that was
3v2, I should say.
Yeah, that was definitely a read on the Chien-Pao's Protect. Hoping perhaps to use Tailwind and Strange Steam to pick up a KO on Ludicolo there and get the Tailwind speed advantage. Maybe that was Will's angle, but yeah, it gets punished super hard by just that Ice Spinner into the Roaring Moon. And now what do you do? Like, yeah, Double Protect is just so safe. You can block the Fake Out. And then next turn, like even if you miss all your Origin Pulses, I think you're still going to be okay. Like, the damage trades are just such in Ben's favor now.
Yeah, I don't see a way out for Will, unfortunately. He doesn't even, I think, Ben doesn't even need to click Origin Pulse with a risk to miss with how low both of these Pokemon are. I feel like an Ice Spinner will take out either of them and make it a 1v3 for the rest of the match. But we'll see. Double Protect was locked in on Ben's side, so this turn's going to be somewhat of a wash. But we'll see how this goes going forward.
Yep, that Double Protect will come out, stop any damage that Fake Out could do, any potential board advantage that Will could gain from this. Actually, we see the Weezing just Protect as well, so hoping to get something out of that turn. But yeah, Protect Fake Out, doing nothing into the Double Protects on Ben's side.
Yeah, and so we see Ice Spinner into... oh, maybe not. Okay, Sacred Sword into the Weezing. And I believe it was Water Spout clicked by Kyogre there. Definitely not wanting to risk any Origin Pulse miss shenanigans. So the Water Spout, even at lower HP on the Kyogre, still going to be some guaranteed damage on these low HP Pokemon that Will has. Yeah, on his side of the field.
Yeah, I think if you're Will, you have to hope that there's attacks aimed the Weezing's way and get a Double Protect there, and then hopefully you can just win damage trades with Drain Punch, but I just don't see how that's going to happen. As soon as the Amoonguss comes in, whichever one gets KO'd, Amoonguss will just be able to Rage Powder away from the other. So, yeah, no Double Protect attempt either. The Sacred Sword will come out into the Weezing. That will be Terrestrialization lost for Will. Weezing goes down, and now Kyogre dealing just any damage to the Iron Hands will be plenty. And actually, since the Weezing has left the field, the Neutralizing Gas will reactivate abilities, including the Kyogre's Drizzle, opening up this Origin Pulse to pick up the remaining amount of damage onto the Iron Hands.
I completely misread the click there. I apologize. I thought it was Water Spout. But goes for the high accuracy of Origin Pulse for the guaranteed KO there and gets it. And so, good game to Bill, and with that, he takes the set 2-0.
Yep, good stuff on Ben's side. He will be moving on 1-0 in this tournament. Of course, since there are 4 rounds at this event, there will be plenty more opportunities for Will to come back. Winning the remainder of the Swiss rounds will still put you in the top cut. So that's it for round 1. We will go ahead and cut it to a quick break. And when we return, we'll be back with round 2.